We are ready. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our spring housing workshop series. This is a 5-part series, and today is our second part. And we are focusing today on downsizing. So the big question is, should I stay or should I go? I've asked that question of myself several times. This program, we have had immense response to these programs, and we have been on wait list. So we have decided to record these programs, and this will be recorded for WACAM today. We're going to hold off our questions until the end, but I just wanted you to know that we are recording, and if you could silence your cell phones, we would be most appreciative. So we have 5 panelists. It is a great lineup today. And I think we should get started, and we are going to start with Brian Harvey. He is a certified aging-in-place specialist and owner of Harvey Home Modifications. Brian is the owner-operator of Harvey Home Modifications and brings a decade of accessibility-centric, I love that term, contracting to each job. Brian is a Massachusetts registered home improvement contractor, has an unrestricted construction supervisor license, is a certified aging in space specialist from the National Association of Home Builders, and he's a lead-safe renovator. Please welcome Brian Harvey.
Thank you, and this is probably the best turnout I've seen since after what we won't talk about yet. As she said, my name is Brian Harvey, and I own a construction business here. I do almost strictly residential remodeling for aging in place. So we do a lot of bathrooms, additions, and whatever it takes to keep people at home, because as I'm sure all of you from this lovely community know, nearly everyone just wants to remain in the home that they've made such a significant time and financial investment to. So it's possible. And I'm going to go over some of the techniques and problem areas to address that will help us do that. That was a great introduction. One of the things I want to point out is that I come by this line of work honestly. My mother has been in senior care, home care, and hospice her entire life. And somewhere along the lines, my father, who was a union pipe fitter, started performing handyman duties for clients that my mother had, so mutual clients. And the need grew to a point past handyman services. I joined my father about 10 years ago, and now we're doing new construction builds and a lot of remodeling. So I know I look young, and but I have some experience in this. And if anyone has questions, just email the team here after the presentation. I'd be happy to send a response. Okay. This is my son James, by the way, and he's very interested in the projects I'm doing around the house, so he might be 3rd generation in the business. So aging in place remodeling, one of the things to understand is that there are building techniques that not a lot of people are familiar with, but the technique that we try to use is something called universal design. So when we approach a project like a bathroom, what we try to do is to address the specific concerns that the homeowner has. Maybe it's a condition like Parkinson's, or maybe someone's preparing for a knee surgery that's going to put them in a wheelchair for a bit. We like to understand that, but we also like to make recommendations using the principles of universal design so that the bathroom will look nice, but will serve them for as long as they'd like to use it. There are some pillars of universal design that we like to use. And so the first is equitable use. That is, if you are completely physically capable, or if you are using a wheelchair under assistance, the space will work for you. Simple and intuitive, speaks for itself. Perceptible information. So if we're remodeling a bathroom, and I don't know if anyone's done this recently, but you go to the plumbing supply store and you look at the shower valves, and some of them have touch screens and some of this crazy stuff on it. We try to avoid things like that. We want you to be able to look at the space and the hardware in the space and be able to understand it immediately. Tolerance for error. So we do a lot of stuff like grab bars or have slip-resistant materials as our surfaces to avoid things like slips and falls. Low physical effort. And lastly is space for approach and use. So, most of us, if we're living in these old houses in Wayland and the surrounding areas, homes weren't built, and almost every residence, even in some 55-plus communities, the spaces weren't built expecting someone in a wheelchair to be using them. So not only homeowners in wheelchairs, but homeowners who are receiving care in wheelchairs, like when they're using their bathroom or kitchen. And space for approach and use using that chair is really important. So we try to incorporate that, whether the person expects to be in a chair or not. The key areas of the home to address are entrances and exits, bathrooms, bedrooms, living spaces, kitchens, and stairways. Some of the entrances and exits that are available and common are semi-permanent ramps. There's a lot of benefits to these. You probably see them quite a bit. They are a quicker installation. They don't involve permitting or anything like that from the city. They can usually, there are companies that can get to your home within about a week of their estimate and have them installed in one day, no matter the size. They can be removed when you no longer need them. And they can be rented, which is important if you have a short-term need. Also, yes, very durable. They're made of mostly metal, aluminum, or other metals. Permanent ramps, if you're expecting to be somewhere a long time, you can make them look fantastic. Like this is a project we did. We ended up staining this, and it looked just like the deck they already had in the rear of their home. And they're customizable. Vertical platform lifts. We don't see a lot of these in Massachusetts. There's some really great turnkey technology that's available. In Massachusetts, the contractor is required to go through the elevator permitting process. There's a lot of electrical and structural components that come with that. So there's companies that have these off-the-shelf products that can be installed in maybe an hour and can be connected to just standard home electrical outlets, like an exterior outlet, but the process is difficult. So it drives the cost to a point where you see more ramps than vertical platform lifts. Hopefully we see that change. They take up like a very small amount of space, so it's attractive, and if you were able to install it like some of the other states in New England can without the complex permitting process, it would be more cost effective than sometimes even a semi-permanent aluminum ramp. I have a video here, hopefully this works, as an example. You can see it's really just a simple operation. I think this took us, it took us more time to build the platform to the door than it did to actually assemble and install the ramp. This was for a building inspector who let the homeowner bypass some of the permitting process. Bathrooms. These are probably the most common project because I think they're the most anxiety-inducing room of the home for falls. What we'd like to incorporate in each of these rooms are low or no thresholds. Okay, so that's for either wheelchair access or for avoiding having to step over a tall tub. We place grab bars everywhere that we can, handheld showers. We like to use slip-resistant materials on tile. There's a few different types of popular accessible bathrooms. The first is a wet bath. So this is a project we did. It's very difficult to get a picture of the whole room because it was a half bath before we remodeled it. but it was the only bathroom available on the first floor. So what we had to do was waterproof the entire substrate to the room and place a shower in a corner and leave the fixtures where they had been. And that allows the entire room to get wet without damaging any of the subsurface, and allowed us to place an accessible shower in a small space. Curbless or no threshold showers speak for themselves. It takes a little bit of subsurface waterproofing and preparation, but these are great for, universal design because they look great and they'll help you whether you can walk into them or if you need to be seated or in a chair. Inserts, these are great too. They are probably the quickest installation of an accessible style shower because you can remove the tub, change the drain to accommodate a shower, and have wall panels installed, and probably see it all the time now, watching Red Sox games. I think it's Next Day Bath or one of those companies that offer services like this. And lastly is a low threshold shower, another attractive looking type of bathroom option that will help us, which is much better than a 2-foot tall tub that we have to step over, right? Bedrooms and living rooms. So some of the things we like to incorporate, and I always go back to the wheelchair turning radius because, if we're lucky enough to be in our home for a long time, there's a good possibility that at some point, even temporarily after hip or knee surgery, that we need to be in a wheelchair. And so we try to incorporate a turning circle, like you see in this photo, in all of the rooms that we design. And that's a 60-inch or 5-foot turning radius. So that's the number to keep in mind. In each of the rooms, we like to increase lighting and open space, shorter beds and couches, and I should probably have appropriate height here because I see some people who are 5 feet tall and who are 6 feet tall here. So you want to customize your furniture to accommodate you, but you want to make sure you're not straining yourself to get in and out of furniture. And we try to add bed rails or grab bars, something to assist us in seating or getting up at all times. Okay, so some of the helpful features in these rooms as well is remote or auto lighting. I don't know, anyone here have an Alexa or one of those types of devices? They have light bulbs now that you can control from your phone, or you can ask Alexa, the Amazon Echo, to turn the bulbs on. Take a look at that stuff. It's not expensive. An electrician can swap it out in a couple minutes, and it's easy to set up. Raised outlets. So if we're vacuuming and our outlets are, if our house is from 1930 and the outlets are in the baseboard, that can cause a situation for someone who maybe has balance issues. Open shelving so that you're able to perceive the information in your closets and in your kitchen. And lift chairs and beds. So maybe swap out the recliner with something that can assist you, and that technology is widely available. And lastly, secure flooring. So we try to limit the number of runners and area rugs that we have in spaces because those are a very common offender for tripping hazard. Okay, so kitchens. This is kind of an exciting one. We work with a lot of people who love to cook, but their kitchen no longer suits them. It's very difficult. The appliances and the layout doesn't work, but there are a lot of things you can do to improve this. First are reachable appliances, open space for seating in common areas like at the stovetop or the sink, varying counter heights so that whether you want to be seated or standing to prepare food, your kitchen works for you, and some safety appliances. I'll get into that in a couple of these photos. So here's a kitchen example. We did this project in Wayland. We prepared the space for complete wheelchair access, but whether you're using a wheelchair or not, again, this kitchen would be great. See the open seating underneath the sink and the stovetop? The stovetop also has front dials so that we're not reaching over an open flame or a hot surface. We've placed the microwave in the island so that it can be loaded from the top, so there's no reaching or bending over for it. We have a wall oven at a comfortable height with some support beneath it in a custom shelving. And a top-load dishwasher right next to the sink, which prevents you from having to reach very low to pick up some of your utensils. Stairways, a lot of us have taller homes. A lot of homes don't even have, a half bath on the first floor. And if we're dead set on remaining in this house or using multiple levels of the home, there are a couple things we want to incorporate into stairwells, and that's handrails on both sides of the stairs, slip-resistant surfaces. So if you have like an old shag carpet or a glossy paint on your stairs, they make product that you can add to paint and stains that make those types of surfaces, whether it's a stairs or just another platform, slip-resistant. Lighting is important, whether that's mechanical lighting done by an electrician or adding windows to a space that's otherwise very dark. And again, obviously this stair lift. There's a lot of options out there. We could probably spend a whole segment on that. And I'll close by saying just in all areas, some of the things we'd like to do are improve the color of lighting. So if you have bulbs in your home and you have soft white or warm white, that can cause, as I'm told, as we age, we get sometimes a yellowing sensation in our vision. But now it's very easy to find whiter, brighter lighting at stores. And what you want to look for is the cool white, bright white, or daylight options. Secure flooring, touched on this. In every area, you want something to grab. So like in this bathroom, we have a shower shelf that's secured as a grab bar, and we've added other grab bars as well. They also make products like this, which is called the Super Pole by a company from Healthcraft. It's a floor-to-ceiling product that is secured just by tension, and you can place it anywhere you'd like, next to your bed, outside of the tub, or next to your favorite seat in the living room. We always suggest lever handles so that, if we lose some function in our hands or if we have issues like Parkinson's, it makes it much easier. And pocket doors. So pocket doors are great because if you are in a wheelchair, it's the easiest type of door to open. It increases the width, if done correctly, increases the width of the entrance, and also doesn't take up space in a room. So if you put a pocket door into a bathroom, that becomes open floor space in the room rather than just an area for the door to swing into. Okay. And lastly, in all rooms, we just want to reduce clutter. Clutter can cause us to fall, just it decreases the vision of the home, and it's one of the simplest things you can do to make your home safer. And that's it. Thank you.
How great is the timing, because how are we going to pay for all this? And so our next speaker is Amy Cohen from the SMOC, that's South Middlesex Opportunity Council, Home Modification Loan Program.
Great.
Amy Cohen.
Thank you.
This is not my take home.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. So what a delight to follow Brian. Brian has been working with our program for almost 10 years, we figured out. And this is the first time I got to meet him. We've only worked over the phone and the computer up to this point. But Brian is an excellent example of a contractor that understands exactly the needs of those that are looking to age in their home. So how would we pay for some of these, what I like to call modifications, as opposed to remodel? These modifications are necessary for you to be able to follow our mission, which is to enable people to continue to live in their own home and be as independent as possible. So I work for a nonprofit in Framingham called SMOC, South Middlesex Opportunity Council. Basically the parent agency is CDAC in Boston, and they run the home modification program throughout the state of Massachusetts. This is a state-funded program, and it's in conjunction with the Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission. So as I said, this is our mission, to help those that want to age in their home, live in their home. It might not even be an aging issue. It might be those that have suddenly discovered that they are in a wheelchair, or their gait issues where they need to be able to be steady and moving around their home, in their bathroom, as Brian pointed out. So the Home Modification Loan Program is, as I said, a state-funded program, and the beauty of this is the amount is up to $50,000 for those that own a dwelling on land, and then up to $30,000 if you are in a mobile home. I don't know if there's any mobile homes in Wayland. Don't think so. But $50,000 as of right now. It used to be 30, but back in 2017 they increased it to 50,000 because they were realizing the cost of construction and materials, and that folks wanted to do slightly larger projects too. It is a 0% interest. There's no payments on a monthly basis. It's in the form of a junior mortgage that is a lien to your property. So if you have a mortgage on your property, it takes a seat after that with a 50-year note. So why not take advantage of that to make sure that you are safe in your home? Technically, it's not going to be your issue. However, you can pay it off if you'd like to, which then goes into a loan pool to help other borrowers, other families. It is paid off when the property is sold or if there's a transfer of title. The income guidelines are even higher than this slide. It's 200% of the median income. So if you're an average household of, say, two, right now it is $224,400. If you earn less than that, you're eligible. The only other eligibility requirement in regards to money is you have to have less than $75,000 in any type of liquid assets. Does not include any type of pension program, does not include a 401k plan. Just, you know, if you have a lot of money in the bank, then that's something that the program takes a look at. Sometimes people do have an equity line of credit because they need to do a larger project. They might need to add on to their home. So one of the other requirements that we have an application process, which is just a simple application that you can handwrite. It has frequently asked questions and answers. The biggest part is making sure that you have the documentation of need completed by a medical professional. It can be a visiting nurse, it can be a social worker, it can be a nurse practitioner, anybody who knows what your needs are. So for instance, if you wanted to do an accessible bathroom, take out that tub and put in a walk-in shower and a handheld shower. We just need to make sure that that is supported by your medical professional. And I usually tell applicants to wait until you talk to a contractor like Brian who understands what your needs are. Everybody's needs are very individualized, and your needs might be different than your neighbors. So wait until you figure out what it is that you're looking to do for your modifications to your home. We also take a look at, so anybody else, we take a look at the gross income of your household. So if you have any other family members that are living with you, it is based on the number of individuals and what the collective gross income is. So we talked about the professional certification, that's a documentation of need. We also need to make sure that you're up to date on your state taxes for your property, your town taxes. We want to make sure, because it is a state program, so they want to make sure that you're up to date on that. And again, I mentioned the $75,000 in liquid assets. So we have the contractor slide, which we can skip over. You're working with someone who you would like to work with. We do not choose your contractor for you. Brian's company is on our list with other contractors in the area. And we just want to make sure that they're properly licensed, properly insured, that you feel comfortable working with them. They're going to be in your home. You want to feel confident of working with them on a daily basis. We're going to come out in the beginning with a construction monitor, depending on what the project is. We're going to rely on that contractor to do the proper permitting. So that is also sent to our program. We keep a file for everyone, making sure that all the proper licensing information, we vet the contractors. We want to make sure that the proper permitting is done and that information is sent to us. And then there's a contractor bid form that's completed. That's the contractor's responsibility of your project, making sure that it's clear as to the modifications that you're going to make to your home. And then we'll allow the contracting process to take place, and then our construction monitor will come out at the end and do a final inspection. So Brian's been through this several times this past year. These are the communities that we service for Metro West, and I also cover the Cape and Islands. So now I'm going to go into some, it's possible that Brian's pictures are better than mine, but we'll see. But we'll have definitely some similar pictures of modifications that you can do to your home, ramps, interior and exterior lifts. Very interested to find out more about that exterior wheelchair type lift, because it is quite a process and an expensive permitting process to do a lift, an exterior wheelchair lift. We also help younger families, so we have fencing. Sometimes we have the security animals that we have. We can put up a fence for those animals. We can have fencing for children that are diagnosed with autism. So we work not only with your age group, but we also work with younger families as well. We've gotten into some bigger projects such as accessory dwellings, because there might need to be a caregiver that lives with you, or maybe there's extended family. The program's very supportive of multi-generational living, widening of doorways, and making sure that your flooring is safe, removable thresholds, hardwire alarms for those that might have dementia. So here's some pictures that I have. Here's an example of a permanent ramp. This is a wheelchair lift, a chair lift that was installed inside of a garage. They'll do a decking, we'll approve a decking up to 64 square feet. So that's big enough for a platform and clearance for a chair. So maybe there's stone or shells, or you need a stable walkway to get in and out of your home, making sure that your egress is safe in and out. There's some examples of stair lifts. You would think they would call it a chair lift, but we have to differentiate. These are placed on the stairs for you to be able to get up to your second floor, down into the basement. If you are unable to move laundry, we do relocate laundry. A lot of folks like to have a one-floor living situation and modifications. Here's an example of the expensive chairlift. Fencing, as I mentioned. We do sensory therapy rooms for children that are in need of those type of occupational type therapies. Widenings of doorways and hallways, as Brian said, pocket doors. And they're really good about doing the whole bathroom too. So if you're looking to modify a bathroom, they'll change out the vanity, pick a new paint color, pick your fixtures that are those levers in the handheld showers. Removal of thresholds if someone's in a wheelchair or you use a walker. We don't want any tripping hazards. So we're removing carpet because that's very difficult to use with those devices. Here's another example of the no threshold shower. So many great products out there. Another example of the tub to shower conversion. Grab bars, walk-in showers, and you can be, it's up to you as to what type of materials you want. Some folks will just keep things really simple. You don't have to use the full 50,000. If you want to use less, as long as it's over 1,000, we'll work with whatever modifications you need. We've done a few projects with the walk-in tubs. One thing to keep in mind is just, unless you're going to be, someone is transporting someone into with a Hoya lift, you have to sit in that tub while it fills up. You have to make sure that your hot water tank is going to support the gallons and gallons and gallons of water. So, but some people do need that type of therapy. Here's some kitchen examples. And the program will pay for appliances that are permanent to the kitchen. We won't pay for a fridge unless it's, say, a type of refrigerator that you need on a higher level. But as long as it's permanent, appliances. They're really big into the pull-out drawers, the pull-down shelving, so you are able to reach the items in your kitchen. It's really amazing when you start to think of how many different modifications. Okay, so I do have a sign-up sheet and some pamphlets over there for you to be able to contact me, and I would be glad to email you the application information or mail you out a packet. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
And again, we'll open it up for questions at the end.
Oh, I don't care. Sorry.
So if you're thinking that moving might be an option, our next speaker is just who you need to hear from. Susan Blumenfeld is from New Roots Move Management. The work Susan does at New Roots combines her expertise in move management, organization, space planning, with her passion and experience for working with older adults. This unique skill set enables her to successfully and compassionately assist older adults with their organizational and relocation needs. Please welcome Susan Blumenfeld.
Hi everyone, I'm Susan Blumenfeld from New Roots Move Management.
It's not going on.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. So I'm a senior move manager, senior specialty move manager, and I'm doing like part one of a two-part presentation with my colleague and from another company, Marie. We're going to be talking about the process of downsizing. So we come in when you've made the decision, mostly, to downsize. Sometimes we can come in and help you declutter, and I would start now, like today, after this, go and get going, and fill those trash bags and recycling bins today. It's never too early, and it's really a gift that you give yourself and your children. Don't leave it. It's too stressful for them. Don't leave it. Do what you can do. Anyway, so we're senior move managers. We're certified, which means that we have to have a certain amount of insurance and licensing and all that kind of stuff. So when you work with a senior move management company that is part of the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers, you know you're getting a high quality senior move manager. So what do? I have a partner, Lisa Patton. You're not seeing my amazing slides. Yeah. They're amazing. We are friends of 40 years. We went to Beaver Country Day School over in Chestnut Hill together. And we both live in Wayland. I've lived here for 25 years and raised all my children here. See, we got Bob Maynor here. Anyone know Bob? So what we do, we meet with each client, we assess your need and the scope of the project. What's happening? Are you downsizing, decluttering, and staying there? Are you going to be using these guys and doing some modifications? Are you, giving stuff away to your kids? Are you redesigning your house? Are you redecorating your house? What are you doing? We talk about it. Then we figure out, okay, let's say the scenario is I'm moving to a smaller space. I'm moving to assisted living, independent living. I'm moving to a condo, somewhere smaller. So we're going to talk about decluttering, dispersal, and consignment. What do you do with your stuff? And Marie's going to talk about that. And that's really fun. And then we pack. We help you pack. We help you, we do a floor plan for you, so we'll say, of all this furniture that you have in your house, what do you love? And we like to say, take the best of the best. Now's the time. What are you waiting for? Please, use your china, people. Come on, what are you waiting for? The couch that no one ever uses is now your couch. That's your new couch. So we'll help you figure out what will fit and what will look really nice and spacious as you move forward in your new housing, whatever that is. Then we work with you on a floor plan. So you do have a little bit of a say. Lisa is amazing at it, and she's always right. Even to the point of, there was this one ottoman, and I was like, they can take, actually it was a Whalen family too, and, sorry, I was like, you could take the ottoman, you know, one of those little square things, of course you could take it. It didn't fit. So I had to end up schlepping it back to their house because it was my mistake. Then we have a moving company. We work with 2 moving companies pretty much exclusively, but if you have someone you like, we'll go with that. We get that locked down. Your move date is really important. So if any of you are thinking right now, oh, I'm going to be moving soon, get your mover. That's really the number one thing. Get a date in the spring. Otherwise, you're not moving. We pack and pack and pack. So we come in, we sort, we organize, we pack. We sort, we organize, we edit, we sort, we organize. What are you keeping? And you'll find, it's hard to wrap your head around it right now, but as the hours go by and the couple of first days of working with us, it becomes easier and easier and easier. It really does. You just have to take our word for it. It does. At first you're like, oh no, I have to have it. And then by day 3 you're like, let's get rid of it. And it feels amazing. It looks amazing. Some people, we declutter, and sometimes they just say, okay, I'm going to stay, because it feels so much more comfortable. You know, all this stuff you put in the over and the under, the attic, the basement, all that, because you don't know what to do with it. Marie's going to talk to you about that. It starts to clear out. Again, after this, what are you doing? You're going home and you're going to go up into your attic. Carefully, very, very carefully. So we do move day oversight, the best part of our services, and we're boutique move management companies, and we're independently owned and operated, both of us. I'm New Roots Move Management and Transitions Liquidation Services. We unpack and resettle you, and that's the real bougie, like, this is awesome. You walk in, you can go do whatever you want. You can hang out here and do puzzles and come back and here your apartment and is all set up and you're ready to roll. Everything we do. And we really, really pay attention to detail. We're not perfect, we're human, but we really work really hard, and we get very obsessed by your stuff and what's going where and making sure you have it, and the logistics of the move and where you're sleeping that night, and does it make sense for you to sleep at the kids or a hotel? All this we do. We help you figure out. So now you're in your new house, and now we have before and after pictures, which people love.
Yeah.
We have floor planning pictures. We're sorting the light blue towels that are 100 years old. And we're saying, hey, it's a little, ratty. Are you ready for some new? We help you make those decisions. You might not be. You might love them. They're your favorite towels. It's fine. It's up to you. But we'll nudge you a little bit. Right sizing is what it's all about. We even do virtual sorting, which there's a picture here. Some people are in Florida. We just did a Whalen family at the Hills, and he's in Florida, and we just did his whole house with him on virtually. So that is great. We lay things out. We make the sorting process easy. One question that comes up a lot is, how can you sort my stuff? You don't know. We do know. After working with you for a short period of time, we know what's important to you. We can also see what's important to you. What have you taken care of? What's dusted? What's not? What's in the back of the closet? Don't need it. And we'll just help you remember that. Some of it's pretty fabulous, like, oh, wow, I was looking for that and I found it. But most of the time it's not. It's just not. So anyway, we do that. So if you're traveling or something, we can take care of it, and that's even great because you come home and it's done. Then we help our clients with determining what to do with your unwanted stuff, and Marie's going to talk about that. And it's not easy. It's really not easy. There's consignment, there's estate sales. Once we've determined what you want to take and what you want to give away or donate or sell, then it's on. These are just all pictures of before and after. One funny picture is of my team, all smiley in the beginning, and at the end they're like this. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Don't be afraid though, because it's very exhilarating. We show you clients here, all big smiles. One woman, the woman of the couple had a stroke. They thought they were doing fine. They weren't. It was really hard. And she moved, and they are thrilled. But it's just hard to think, how am I going to get out of this? Like, and then you just stay. And no, there's the tired picture. So that's it. We love what we do. We're New Roots Move Management, and my card's over there. We love to even just answer questions if you want to call and talk. And if you're a DIY, do-it-yourself person, happy to give you tips and tricks. We have a bunch of stuff on our website, newrootsmoves.com, and it's not fun. I'm not going to lie, but it's got to be done. It's not fun, but it's got to be done. Now, I think that's it for us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Susan. Our next speaker is the owner of Transitions Liquidation Services. Marie has been here before several years ago, and she was a wealth of information on what to do with all those things that are in my home that my kids have no interest in, and what am I going to do with it? So how did Marie get started? When she experienced the stress of spending nights and weekends sorting, packing, selling, and disposing of personal property following the death of a loved one, Marie knew her mission was to lift the same burden from others facing this difficult task. In fact, that's the reason she started her company. Marie is a perfect combination of skills to efficiently plan and coordinate a transition of any size and scope with care and support. Please welcome Marie LeBlanc.
Great, thank you very much. As usual, technology not always necessarily our friend. Hopefully you can see that as I slide through here.
Do you want full screen?
Yeah, so just doing which one? And it changed the color. Did something. Oh, there we go. From the beginning. Here we go. We are on. Okay. Thank you for the help. I appreciate that. So yes, we are also senior move managers. We've been doing this for 21 years. It was actually our 21st anniversary on April 4th. There are copies of this slideshow as well as a sheet with some local donation references for you there on the reference table. So in that time, we've done about 2,500 of these transitions. We do on average 125, 150 a year. So I can tell you that we have never left anyone on the curb, and neither is New Roots, and we are not going to start with you. So you always, I walk in and people will always say, oh my God, is this the worst you've ever seen? And it's hard because I want to say, well, do you want me to say yes? Is that going to make you feel better, or do you want me to say no? Because I can assure you it's probably not. I title this that it's a topic for both being on the actual practitioner side after having done all of these, but also we did our own downsizing from a 4-bedroom, 3,500 square foot place on 2 acres in Harvard about 8 years ago to a 1,600 square foot, 1-level condo overlooking Hyannis Harbor. And so I can tell you, yes, it is very different when it's yours. But I also learned a lot of things that helped me in terms of working with the clients. So what tips do I have for you? As Susan said, it's time to start to enjoy your stuff. Many of us live with formal places that we never get to, and with formal items that we never use. So what you're looking in this next phase of your life is to create this really comfortable environment surrounded by the things that you really love. And also people will say to me as soon as we walk in, how can I let go of, I can't get rid of this stuff. I have all this, I have all these rooms. I need all this stuff. And then as Susan said, we start to look around and we actually see, well, I can tell you where you live. There's a place where you eat. There's a place where you watch TV. There's a place where you do your hobbies and maybe work your, PC or whatever. And there's your bathroom in your bedroom. And when you look at the new places, even though they're smaller, those are the concentrated spaces that you'll move into. So it is entirely possible to do this. We always tell folks to plan on concentrated effort sessions. So as Susan said, this is very hard work, but concentrating for 3 hours at a time, do it for as long as you can possibly stand it, and don't flit, okay? Everybody has a chance to flit. So flitting means, I think today I'll start on my closet. And so you go in, and in order to really do this process and decide what you're keeping and what you're not, you take everything out of the closet. So now you get stuff spread everywhere. And then you get tired, you get bored, it gets hard. So you sort of walk away because you can and close the door. The problem is that you repeat that over and over and over again in each room, and the next thing you know, your house looks like a bomb went off, okay? And that is not the right kind of reinforcement that we're trying to do here. So concentrate and really have at it. The other huge thing that we talk about when we talk about what to do with your stuff is when you look at having to make these decisions, think about what's going to motivate you. And we're all very different. It's kind of like thinking about the diet. You know, you're in it for the long haul. And so is it that you need to rip the Band-Aid off and go and tackle whatever is going to be the worst thing for you? And for some people, it's, you know, what's in a closet, or it's their books, or it's all their papers. They literally have tax documents going back to 1952. And what do I do with all that stuff? Maybe it's all the tools, 37 hammers and 52 screwdrivers, because, you know, they're small and they don't go anywhere, and you may need it. You can always use an extra hammer. Why would you throw that out? So figure out, you know, is it that? Do I need to rip the Band-Aid off? Or do I need to actually just, you know, like do 2 drawers and say, whoa, look at that. I finished, and it looks so much better. And I filled a couple trash bags, and I'm going to move on now, and I feel better. So think about what motivates you, because it is a bit of a long haul. And then into the other big thing, too, that people get themselves trapped into when they start to think about their stuff is they sort of want to see it to the end. So let's say that you have 500 books in your home, which in Massachusetts is not unusual, okay? And if you're an academic, bump it up by 2 or 3 times that much. And so you're sitting there thinking, okay, what do I do with all these books? And so making the decision, and pulling some out, you know, and putting them in some bags, and then getting the idea that I'm going to also take these to the library or to More Than Words or to someplace, and keep repeating that. The problem is that you get sucked into the activity and not the decisions, because the decisions are hard. So you kind of use the activity to somewhat close the loop, but mostly to avoid the decision. And what I will tell you is the biggest break you can give yourself is to take advantage of anybody who is able-bodied, whether that's someone who calls you on the phone from Big Brother, Big Sister and says, we're coming to your neighborhood, we can pick up, you know, up to 5 bags or boxes off your front stoop, or your next door neighbor, or, you know, someone who's got a grandson with a, you know, pickup truck or whatever. Use them to do the schlepping. Anybody can do the schlepping. Not anybody can make the decisions. And that's what you really need to concentrate your time and energy on. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so everyone, of course, wants to know, is my stuff worth anything? Like, you know, what do I have here? So let me just sort of explain what is driving today's current prices for things like stuff, furniture, you know, tchotchkes, whatever. So these are the important things to think about. We are all living a really long time, okay? So 20 years ago, if, you know, I mean, I'm 64, my dad's 86, I've already done my downsizing. When he gets ready, it's like, I don't want your stuff. Like, I've already figured out my stuff. And so, again, here's the big, big thing, not that we don't love you, Just because we don't want your stuff does not mean we don't love you, okay? Or that we don't place just as much value on grandma and the china that she collected for forever, okay? That is not what this is about. It is purely a matter of space and taste, okay? So because we're all living longer, what it basically means is, 20 years ago, if you were 45 and your parent died at 65, which was much more common, you were probably ready for a change. You were probably ready to take in some of their nice stuff because your stuff had gotten beaten by all your kids and everything else. So that was good. But again, as everyone lives longer, and now you're looking at 90-year-olds who have children who are 60, 65, that process has passed, okay? So that's one huge part. The other big part is, so then you sit there and think about, well, who does actually take this stuff? And it's usually kids in their 20s and 30s. And if you think about how they get marketed to, in their minds, unlike for us, furniture is not an investment. Furniture is a decoration. And they get sold that we need to do this and swap this out and get a new look from Pottery Barn or Crate and Barrel or some other place about every 10 years. So if your furniture lasts 10 years, great. Now just put it to the curb and get a whole bunch of new stuff. So the fact that you have a sofa that has flowers on it, or is plaid, or has ruffles on the bottom, or any of that, is not at all appealing to them. And you can think, yeah, but it has great bones. We could recover it. We could get it reupholstered. I can tell you that that is upwards of $3,000 to $5,000 to reupholster a couch, okay? And that's if you can find somebody who can do it, because they're few and far between anymore. So for that much money, do your grandkids a favor, give them a check, instead of trying to give them your sofa, and I can guarantee you that they will love you incredibly for that, okay? And a lot less stress, all right? So, the other huge thing is that eBay and the internet have made everything not special, okay? So I can tell you a story. When I first started many, many moons ago, one of my first clients was someone who collected chocolate pots. And chocolate pots, they're kind of like a taller version of a coffee pot. Beautiful. Porcelain, ton of Limoges ones, painted up to the nines, a lot of gold trim. And more importantly, she had almost 400. And she would use them like decorations. She'd swap them out, she had them all numbered, she knew where they were, and she'd change them for the season and, Christmas and the whole 9 yards. She could tell you the story of every single one of those chocolate pots. And what she would do, this was back in the day, she would follow the Route 1 antique mile, right? So you keep kind of going up Route 1, and from here to Maine, there's 50 million little antique shops. She loved the hunt, loved the hunt. Would go in all these shops, take off on a Saturday morning at like 9, come back at 4. When she got to one, and she saw one of these pots that was different, she'd never seen it before, maybe a different color, a little bit different shape, different pattern. She thought she had a real find. It was special. She had made an enormous amount of effort to get it, and she didn't see one like it anywhere else. Okay, so now fast forward. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep, you can grab yourself a cup of tea and sit there in your jammies and your slippers, go on to eBay, and in 3 clicks, you can have that same chocolate pot sitting on your front door the next morning. It totally changes the dynamic. A, you can tell it's not so special as you thought, because there's actually 5 of them out there. They might be everywhere in the country, but there are a lot of them. B, how much effort was that? Nothing. It was like nothing. Probably took you more time to get your credit card out, or if you shop eBay all the time, maybe it's already loaded. So, as humans, we really put a lot of stock and value in how much effort it takes us to do things and in what kinds of things we're getting. So now that, it's not special, it's just not. So does that make sense? Okay. All right. So everyone will say, oh, I don't know where to start. And trust me, There are so many low-hanging fruits in every house we go into. As Susan mentioned, the stuff that you've stocked away in the attic, haven't seen for years. And everyone has a different idea. Oh, if I haven't seen it in 10, 20 years, I don't need it, take it down, throw it out. Other people are like, oh my God, I need to see what's in that box because I haven't seen it in 10 to 20 years and it might be something really important. So again, figure out which way your brain's working. Same thing with the cellar. And then usually, once the kids move out, we start to take over the rooms, craft rooms. Next thing you know, our clothing is in every single closet in every single room. So, do that. We all, and I'm just as guilty, go through magazines, newspapers. Oh, that looks like an interesting recipe. I'll rip that out because I'm going to make that sometime. And then the problem is when I make that, I go online and I search for the recipe. Okay, so all those pieces of paper, out. And then all the hazardous material that we accumulate, the paint, the spray cans, the tube lighting. The problem is that there is an enormous cost now associated with hazmat and special handling. Massachusetts enacted a new law at the start of the year. If you have a couch or a chair or some other upholstered with foam in it type of furniture, $75 to make that go away, okay? Spray cans, paint cans, $12 to $15 per can, okay? So it's because we don't really have any place to send this stuff. And so there's all kinds of special handling that's associated with it, which costs money. So if your town does one of those hazmat days where you can take in electronics and paints and all that stuff, load up your car with everything and anything they will take to the point where it's falling out the windows, and drive up and let them take all that stuff, because it will save you an enormous amount of money. Okay? All right. In terms of the actual stuff and whether it's worth something, I will tell you that dark brown furniture, unlike when I first started, double pedestal, Duncan Fife, mahogany, beautiful tables, 6 or 8 chairs, sideboard or china cabinet, I could sell those all day long. Now, those are donation at best, okay? Again, kids don't like dark brown, they're not going to really be buying that. And so it can be old, doesn't make it worth money. Just because it's an antique doesn't make it worth money. So you really have to sort of figure out by looking, you can go visit consignment stores, see what they've got out on the floor, talk to them, bring some pictures, show them what you might have. There are definitely ways to sell your items. Each one of those is associated with some kinds of terms and conditions that you need to understand. So a lot of people will say, for instance, I need you to come and run an estate sale for me. These days, in order to make an estate sale work, the amount of money and time it takes us to set them up and then to run them and staff them, you're looking at a requirement of a minimum of $10,000 in gross revenues in order to make it worthwhile, okay? And most of the houses, frankly, that we go to do not have that kind of money in revenues. So what other things are there? Well, there's, auctions, and auctions have sliding scales. You need to understand how much it may be costing you to get items picked up, how much you might make from them, how much they're taking for commissions. Same thing with the consignment stores. I know that there are people who love to bring their clothes to consignment stores. If I look at the money that it takes, you're usually looking at, say a pair of pants. They won't take them unless they're cleaned. So if you take them to a dry cleaner, it costs you between $8 and $10 to get a pair of pants cleaned. They sell them for about $19.99, and you get 50%. So you break even. At that point, was it worth it, or do you just need to donate them? You have to ask yourself, okay? Special COVID considerations, again, the biggest thing that I would say there is in terms of finding the buyers. Consignment stores are still great. They're actually seeing a rise in their prices because the supply chain is still not really great for people to go and purchase new. So that makes reselling things a really good deal, okay? My greatest mantra, purge early, purge often. And here's why I will tell you that. When we go into people's homes and we have to declutter totally for them, after we've taken them out, we've moved them along, and the things that they want, the things their kids really want, in a 4-bedroom, attic, cellar, garage, typical Garrison colonial, we will normally take out what is equivalent to between 2 and 3 dumpster loads, okay? And that's a 30-yard dumpster. So think about like the entire one side of your garage, okay? Each one of those, if I have to pay labor and bring that there and pay for the disposal fees and everything, you're looking at $1,800 to $2,200 per dumpster. If you can convince yourself and discipline yourself to take out 1 bag of trash extra each week, and trust me, that's not hard. You know, pick a junk drawer, you know, pick a closet with, you know, some clothes or whatever. But if you do that every single week, at the end of the year, you will have thrown out or donated or somehow taken care of 1 dumpster load's worth. So I can tell you to save some money, that's like it. The other big thing is that the charities are really tapped out. A lot of the people who volunteered were elderly folks, and during COVID, they either left, retired, moved on, did whatever. Their staffing's very low. They have enormous costs in terms of coming and doing pickups. So oftentimes what they're requiring is that you either give them something if they come to you and pick things up to cover their truck costs, their gas costs, whatever, or they're saying you need to come and bring it to us, and the hours are very restricted. So really kind of take all that into account. When Susan and I say this takes a long process, it's really a math problem. If you've lived in your house and accumulated things for 30, 40, 50 years, it's not all going away in 2 weeks. I can tell you that from absolute certainty. So again, purge early, purge often, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, it's humorous. I just had someone say to me, "Oh, I think Marie's been following me around." How great is that? Our final speaker, I first met when she was playing her French horn in the community concert out on the town green. Joanne Berry is from Caldwell Banker Realty. She is a 44-year resident of the town of Wayland. 37 years she's been a real estate agent, concentrating on Wayland and surrounding communities. Welcome, Joanne Berry.
Thank you, Julie and Shana, for putting on this well-attended program. And I hope you take the knowledge you've gained today and put it to use. Because I was given a list of questions that Shana thought it might be good for me to address. And number 1 is, once you decided to move, what comes next? And top of the list is get rid of items, which we've heard in a rather stringent fashion here today. So do a little at a time, and over time, you'll thank yourself. But to get to the nitty-gritty of actually putting your house on the market, in Wayland, one of the major things you need to do is get a Title V septic inspection. It's not a very sexy subject, but it can really prolong and hold up the whole process. We also recommend getting any minor repairs or major repairs done. Some folks have asked whether they should get a home inspection before a house goes on the market, and that's, certainly something I've seen. The downside of that is that anything that is determined to be defective has to be disclosed in a real estate transaction. But home inspection gives you the opportunity to correct those problems and maximize your profit. Nowadays, open permits, if you've ever had any work done to your house, have become an issue with attorneys, and we find ourselves scurrying around the last minute to either get the permits closed or the work inspected. A big question is, when is the best time to put your home on the market? And as a realtor, we always say now. In particular, right now, there are 6 homes on the market in Wayland, and we have over 4,700 households. The popular press has been touting the high interest rates as a deterrent to home buyers, but we are still seeing properties going over asking and multiple offers coming in and homes selling rather quickly. I have in a packet at the side desk here included a snapshot of statistics and data for Wayland and what we're actually seeing now. But cyclically, spring or after Labor Day have been the best times to list. In the spring, we see people who have been cooped up in their houses over the holidays with their family and friends and children, and thinking about moving to something bigger or something newer. And another consideration is, in the past, many of the professionals in the area have compensation based on bonuses, so they actually know how much money they have to spend at that time of year. After Labor Day, there's a bump up in activity in anticipation of holidays. People are back from vacation, etc. So we also see a slight uptick then, but it's never too late. Pricing. Many of you have probably gone on Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin.com. You can tap into these websites and get an idea of what your house may be worth. But the only problem is they have not been in your house and don't know condition, don't know neighborhood, don't know location to any big extent. So we always recommend to get a realtor to come in and give you a comprehensive market analysis. Realtors do this at no price, no obligation. It's confidential, so it might give you a little peace of mind in terms of your future planning, whether you plan to list now or 6 months in the future, whenever. It will give you a benchmark of where you're going. Condition and location are big factors. However, with the buying frenzy of last year, condition sort of became secondary in people's list. They would accept defects, blemishes, whatever, more readily than in the past because the demand for housing was so great. I don't know if we've seen so many inspection contingencies waived, whereas in the past, individual buyers would have a home inspection and any modifications recommended by the inspector would then trigger a renegotiation. But we're in a different phase right now, and we don't know when this is going to last. We have been seeing in the last few months more inspections, and we've also seen more mortgage contingencies. Mortgage contingencies give the buyer the opportunity to terminate the deal if they don't get financing and get their deposit back. Deposits are usually 5% of the list price, or the selling price rather, and it's a major chunk of money. But to a seller, it holds things up, and they have to put the house back on the market. So cash sales are great, and we've been seeing a lot of those lately as well. Mortgage contingencies have a deadline, and it usually takes 3 or 4 weeks to get a commitment from a bank. So you're pretty much on hold for that time of period. Let's see. If you're planning to put your house on the market, I recommend reaching out to anyone who may have expressed an interest in your house. Many of you probably get letters in the mail saying, oh, I'd like to buy your house, or let me know if it's for sale. I had one seller give me a pile of 7 of them, and he said, listen, I don't really want to deal with the public. I don't know who these people are, but go through them, and if someone wants to see the house, it's here for sale. So I did. And not one of them even wanted to see the house when they heard the price. Because the adage in real estate is the more people who are exposed to your listing, the higher the price you'll probably get. On the other hand, we do have people who don't want to be bothered with the inconvenience of showings. They want to keep things more private. And we call those non-multiple listings. And a lot of times, we've seen success in that end as well, particularly if a property is in the tear-down category. And for instance, I deal with builders who pay cash and no inspections, whatever. So a number of sellers prefer to go that route. Because once you've entered into an exclusive listing contract with a realtor, anyone who buys the house after that point subjects you to paying the commission. So I want people to be knowledgeable about that. So what I recommend is if you have anyone who wants to buy your house privately, give them a deadline. And what most people do is say, if you're not putting in an offer in the next week, I'm going to list the house. And that sometimes prompts people to move into action and give you an offer. Schedule of events once you've entered into a listing contract. We have a broker open house routine where agents from all around are notified on multiple listing that they have access to come and see the house on a Tuesday or a Thursday for Wayland in the morning. And we feel we have to sell your house to the brokerage community as well as to buyers, and this gives them the opportunity to speak intelligently about the features of your house. Also popular these days has been public open houses, and we are getting tremendous numbers at them these days. Many people were totally turned off of the real estate market last spring, having lost out on offers, and have deferred looking until this year, despite the interest rates. So in terms of the schedule of events, once an offer is submitted, we review the price and terms, and you always have the option of having an attorney review it, because accepting an offer puts you in the position of entering into a legal contract. We always recommend hiring a real estate attorney. We've seen in the past the pitfalls of having your brother-in-law or your closest friend who might be a trust and estates attorney or might be a probate attorney handle real estate. While many of them do, and I don't mean to denigrate them, but real estate attorneys are quite efficient and key into the issues, particularly in our area. Once you decide, again, that you're going to sell, we advise you to feel comfortable with the person you choose, because you're going to be living with them for the next several months. And ask questions like whether they use professional photography, drone photography, which is coming to the fore, where specialists take aerial views of the property. And particularly in Wayland, if you have a major parcel of land or outbuildings that you want to emphasize, drone photography is great. Also, ask if they do a professional floor plan. We feel that people may have seen 8 houses in a day and can't remember what they look like. So in addition to professional photography, floor plans are great for promoting your property. Also ask about mailings, advertising, social media, and internet visibility. Generally, it takes, as I said, 6 to 8 weeks to close. That's basically the period when the buyer is getting a mortgage, and it is also dictated by the arrangements that you as a seller might have. I've done some closings in as quickly as 2 weeks, but it was very efficient and very, everyone attended to all their details very, very well. We also ask you, if you're getting your house ready, to check out the smoke detector status. 2016, we got new smoke detector requirements, and the Wayland Fire Department will need to come to your house closer to the closing date to give you a certificate that everything is in its proper place. Closing date, again, that is decided by you and the buyer. A lot of times the closing date and the terms and conditions in an offer make it more appealing than the price. If someone has contingencies or a closing date that you feel that you can't meet or are uncomfortable with, then that can be negotiated. So that's all I'm going to say. I saw I was the last speaker, and I didn't want to keep everyone for an overly long period of time, so I've spared you PowerPoint. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joanne. Before we open it up to questions, I just first of all want to thank all of our speakers. I know a lot of information today, but I think it was really valuable, so thank you all for coming. I also just want to mention that we have a lot of information over on this table, a lot of resource information. So if you haven't gotten it, please stop by and get some information as well. I also just want to remind you that we have 3 more of these workshops coming up. We have a sheet there with the dates. But if you're interested, I encourage you to please register, because some of them are filling up pretty quickly. So we have Housing and Whaling on April 20th, Housing Options on May 11th, and Alternative Housing Options on May 25th. So again, thank you all for coming, and now we can take questions. So if anybody has a question, if you just want to raise your hand, and we can bring the microphone over to you. And just let us know who you're asking the question to, please.
I don't need the mic,
Oh,
I can
okay,
yell. This is for Joanne. I'd like to know the time of the validity of Title V.
Hi, a Title V is good for 2 years. If you have your septic system pumped before the anniversary, the first anniversary of the pumping and inspection date, the certificate is good for 3 years. But once it's determined that your septic system has failed, you have 2 years to install a new one or repair it.
Okay, so if you get the certificate, and then prior to selling it, you have it pumped, did you say you have to have it pumped?
Well, when you have it inspected, they do pump it, and they do inspect various components.
So then, after you get this Title V,
Yep.
is there a time frame that you then have to have it pumped again, or?
No, unless you want to go for the prolonged 3rd-year validity of the septic certificate, then you have to have it pumped before the 1-year anniversary. But usually 2 years, most people have it pumped in advance of their first sale, so it's not an issue.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Is there any grief counseling for all the things we have to love and have to get rid of?
Marie, want to answer that?
I think Marie can.
Thank you. There is, so let me tell you a personal story. Some of it comes with time. When my mom passed away, she had a set of dishes that she had collected over a very long period of time, and she used to have all of our family, things. So that was a really huge thing. She was one of 9, and we celebrated all the time, and she loved being the hostess and putting these beautiful dishes out. When she was dying, she said to me, "You have to take my dishes," because I was now going to take on her role in all of those family things. I didn't really like those dishes. I have to be completely honest. They were not my style. I already had my own wedding china plus my everyday stuff, and it was like, oh my God. So, packed it all up, put it up in the rafters of the shed, and there it stayed for 14 years until I had to move and do my own downsizing. But here was my thought at that point. I kept it for 14 years and I thought, that's not really, as much as my mom would have loved that I would have taken that stuff, that's not really what she wanted. What she wanted was another family who could use these dishes and think that they were great, to have that same kind of a big family gathering, with everyone around. It was the thought. So anytime that people have a really hard time parting with things, thinking that they're really being, anything from disrespectful to unloving to, whatever, I have to tell them, you got to think hard. What would that other person really have wanted? And so when I gave them away to Household Goods Recycling, and I knew that they were going to be taken by somebody who could really use them, I thought, she's probably really happy now, in a way that she wasn't for 14 years when they were sitting up there and I wasn't using them. So that is kind of part of the process, is really understanding that. Like, why do you not want to give it up? Why are you having such a hard time partying? What does it mean? Because it's just whatever. It's just a book. It's just a piece of paper. So that's not what it's about. It's what does it mean? What does it represent? And understanding that really does help you get past understanding why you might need to part with it or not. Does that make sense?
To some degree, yes, but many things I just have been trying to get rid of. A grand piano. I can't. I have a huge library, you mentioned,
Yeah. Yeah.
of books that are either relatively rare or from Europe from a long time ago. Nobody wants it. I've really tried. So the grieving is just to accept that the world does not want like printed material anymore, no matter how beautiful the editions, because we can get it all on the internet.
Right.
We don't need to buy any of these books.
Yes.
That is
Have
hard.
you tried Ken Gloss over at Brattle?
No, I haven't.
Try him. So if you do info@brattlebooks.com and send them an idea of what you have, he's about the only person in the greater Boston area who's still buying books. And he has a beautiful shop in Boston. He knows his stuff. The grand piano, trust me,
Yeah,
it's
so
like everyone's buying keyboards, you know.
Again,
so,
makes
yeah.
sense. Why would
Yeah.
you want that huge piece of furniture?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yes, for Brian.
Yes.
Assuming you've got your wheelchair up to the top of your 3 or 4 steps, either by a ramp or by a lift, but the area in front of that door is too small for a ramp, you've got one more step to go. How do you deal with that if you can't build a ramp just for that one step?
Yeah. So what you ideally like to have is a 5-foot by 5-foot platform in front of whatever space you're doing. You have the luxury of having a larger deck area or a platform area. You can extend that, and if you have one more step, typically you can install a threshold ramp if you have the space. So ramps we want to be about 1 foot of run for 1 inch of rise, and anything close to that would really be sufficient. So typically steps are 7 inches. If you can get within 7 inches of that door, a 5 to 7 foot long ramp would serve you well, but you would need a larger deck surface to accommodate that.
So it's possible you might have to increase the size of the apron in front of the single step door to accommodate that ramp.
That's right, or a lot of times what we do is we will, and I'd have to see the space, but we create something called a floating deck. So if the structure of the deck is there and it's sufficient, we would build a platform and finish that platform level with the door. So there's a few ways to do it. Every situation is kind of unique.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Also for Brian, you mentioned the turning radius of 10 feet. Did you mean 10 diameter?
The turning radius is a 60-inch diameter, so yeah, so it's 5 feet.
5 feet
Yeah.
diameter.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, once again, thank you all for coming. Thanks to our panelists, and thank you, and we hope to see you at the next one on April 20th.